Hi, and welcome to the Spiritual Awakener podcast. This is a podcast where I get to interview really cool people about their stories, about their turning points, about those things that happened to them, where they realized that they were so much more than they thought they were. I'm sure you've had that. If you think back, what were those turning points in your life where you realized, oh my goodness, if that hadn't have happened, I would have been somewhere completely different. A bit like a closing doors episode. So think about who you are at this moment in time. Feel whether you have this within you to listen to this conversation, to plant the seeds within your heart, to know that you are so much more than you thought you were. This soul having a human experience. And this human experience at the moment, my goodness, what a roller coaster. You know, we do it on our own. Yes, we do. But we have incredible teams in spirit. We have incredible support in this world. But we also need other people to take us on that journey. I've been a therapist and a channel for spirit for over 30 years. And my next guest, I'm really excited to interview her on my podcast today because she has a journey to talk to you about. And I know that you are going to have your heart touched by her. So please welcome my next guest, Joanna Walden. Joanna, thank you for being here on the Spiritual Awakener podcast.
Thank you for having me, Susan.
Yeah, and thank you for staying up so late, because here in the UK, it's the morning, and where you are is...
It's 9:30 p.m. and on a cold winter evening.
Yeah, and what part of the world are you in?
I'm in Auckland, New Zealand, yeah.
Yeah, so New Zealand, one of my places that I've been to a few times, and New Zealand's like almost like a second UK to me. You know, it feels like it is touching down in New Zealand is a bit like coming home to me. So I must have had many previous times there, I think. But Auckland, New Zealand, yeah, is the hub, isn't it, really, of New Zealand?
Yeah, I mean, it's our biggest city. And, you know, I used to live in London for 7 years, and I lived in New York as well. I grew up in Melbourne, and I've got to say, it was really interesting when I came back to New Zealand after all that. I really started getting into the land and the energies that were available to me here. Yeah. And I was quite taken aback with how powerful they were. And that's probably why you're attracted to it as well, because it feels like ancient Lemurian energy. It feels like new consciousness energies where we're going to. It feels lighter. Like a lot of people note that when they step off the plane in New Zealand, they just feel a sense of lightness. And so
I definitely did. Yeah, many years ago, but you know, in my 20s, and early 30s, but 3 times New Zealand. I think that tells you in someone's life, you know, when you live in the UK and you're traveling across the world 3 times, I think there's a reason, you know, why you feel drawn to that country. Yeah. Well, Joanna, please, you know, it's lovely to have you, and please tell us, you know, was there, I mean, I'm sure there's lots of awakening moments, but was there something specific that you could share with my audience that you feel was a real turning point for you?
Gosh, you know, if I think about it, and I think I was saying to you before, like I didn't have that Moses on the mountain moment, you know, I didn't have this one key turning experience that changed my life. You know, I didn't have an accident, and I didn't, you know, have a near experience.
Loads of people have a near-death experience or something, don't they? And they're like, oh my God, I woke up and I realized, like Anita Mujani, you know, I came back and I had to heal myself, you know, and things like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I haven't really had that, but I feel like I came in to this life with a certain level of consciousness and wisdom that was always there in the background. And you know, I was born into a family where my mother was quite spiritual, and she was on a constant state of investigating all different things, from the rebirthing in the 80s and the harmonic convergence.
Wow, you were really lucky, right? My kids have that with me now. You know, they have that with me. They're 13 and 12. And they have a mother that's done all of that as well. But it's kind of normal now. But then, you know, it just, you didn't really talk about it, did you?
No. And so, you know, I was sort of doing Reiki when I was 15 and learning transcendental meditation and but at the same time, I was very sort of one foot in, one foot out. And I sort of was just in my own world. And I was having a lot of my own experiences, like seeing auras and having kind of premonition visions and things. And, you know, as I sort of grew up, I guess, and as I got further away from that childlike wonder and getting into like the pressures of, you know, being an adult, I sort of lost didn't lose my connection to it, but it wasn't as strong. And I sort of got focused on getting a career, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And I ended up in corporate advertising. And you know, although that was fun and glamorous, and I was working all around the world, and it certainly had its highlights, but it was, you know, 24/7, a lot of work in there. And I just always knew that there was something more, that really wasn't the purpose for me being on the planet, and I didn't know what that was. And
that's a really good point, because I think, especially with this awakening, you know, we're recording this right at the end of June in 2021. And obviously, if you're listening to this, unless you've been asleep for the last year and a half, and this is years later, you're listening to it, unless you've been asleep, you would know that the world is going through a massive shift in consciousness and awakening. And so, you know, you're listening to Joanna now saying that she was in this job that probably paid really well, she had a great time, but actually there wasn't something that fed, I call it kind of feeding your soul. Like your soul lights up when you are living your mission, which we both are, obviously, Joanna, and we don't see it as work. And I think if you're listening to this and you feel that actually you're just getting up every morning and you're going to a dead-end job where you're just doing it for the money, you know, maybe don't quit your job or anything, but just maybe think about it for a second, you know, and just feel, is this really what I'm here for? Carry on, Joanna.
And you know, it's funny because I was constantly searching and looking for the answers outside of myself, of course, because I thought the answer was going to be in a new career. I thought it was going to be, you know, maybe potentially finding a partnership. I thought it was going to be in all these different places, that it really wasn't. And so I was really not finding what I was looking for at all. And but it did send me off on a series of quite wild adventures around the world. And I went and hiked the Camino to Santiago, over 900 Ks through the north of Spain, because it was an ancient pilgrim path. And I'd read the Shirley MacLaine book, and she had said that you get zapped and realigned with all this energy from the star systems.
And that's what you were going for, to be zapped and realigned.
Literally to be zapped. I was like, if I go and get zapped, maybe I'll work out what I should be doing.
So, I like being zapped. Zap's a good one. I
was like, well, it worked for her. She had all these amazing experiences of the inception of the universe, and found all these answers and soul life, you know, past life experiences. And
what happened to you?
Mine was the complete opposite. It was sort of more a booze cruise on legs, you know, just sort of with the comedy of errors. I mean, I was the one in the dangly earrings, you know, hardly done any prep, drinking through the pain of the beautiful wine that you get with the pilgrim menu, you know, just sort of getting up with a bit of a dusty hangover and plowing through. And just every time I would try to have a sort of a moment or a spiritually enlightening experience, and I would really just be wanting a moment to myself, someone else would pour in and, you know, interrupt everything and turn everything upside down. It was just the classic comedy of errors. Really.
And that's beautiful, because, you know, in a way that was reflecting, you know, because we know that, you know, we are a reflection of our own belief system, right, and our own energetic imprint. So that was a reflection on what was going on for you, and that's not any judgment, it's just great fun, isn't it? Like you can go, well, you can look back on it and go, oh my goodness, actually I was meant to experience that. And you probably got a great suntan as well, you know, doing it, you know, it's like,
and I mean, I was really doing something that I was not a hiker. This was really outside of my comfort zone. You know, that was the first time I was sort of really taken off on my own with not knowing anybody. You know, it was quite a big deal. And I didn't get the answers I was looking for, but I got some amazing stories. And I continued my journey when I moved to London, and, went off on a cactus journey with a shaman who arrived from Peru, and then went and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and I was having an identity crisis at 33 or something. And then,
Did you do ayahuasca? Did you do ayahuasca and that kind of experience?
I did San Pedro, actually.
I did San Pedro. Okay, yeah. I've done San Pedro and ayahuasca a couple of times, and it's definitely an interesting experience. But it definitely takes you to, I don't want to say new heights because you're already in heights, but just a journey, a different journey, isn't it? To explore who you are. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, it was just funny because, the cactus journey was a bit more like the movie 28 Days Later and the zombie apocalypse. It was just just kind of, and then the climbing the mountain almost killed me. It was just like the freak snowstorm that hasn't happened in a decade happened, and it was just like,
oh my crazy weather. Joanna, what an attraction. Amazing. Yeah. But looking back on it, it was fun, right?
Right. And so, when I left and went to South America, because I thought I didn't really know what to do. And I was studying holistic therapy on the side and kinesiology, learning more about energy and consciousness, running off to spiritual lectures all the time, which was my passion. And I just couldn't figure out, okay, well, what am I going to do with this? Where is my place in all this? And as much as I was searching for what that would be and looking at other modalities, it turned out that really wasn't what was meant for me at all. And I was here to actually bring my own set of way of working to the planet, because it was about me connecting me with the unique essence of me, and not,
That's really important because I talk to my membership and I talk to my groups about this, because owning who you are is not just now, it's the sum of the parts of everything you chose to bring in. And yes, it's really important to have these modalities and train in different ways, because you're just remembering, right? You're just remembering those aspects of you, but everything comes from source, doesn't it? Like it's all coming through you, and it's all from the same place. It's just called something different, and you are you, Joanna, what you bring is you, and what I bring is me. And what everyone brings to the table is them. And do you feel as well owning that energy of yourself was really that? I mean, in a way, that's like a spiritual awakening, isn't it? Because you're saying to yourself, well, actually, I'm not Reiki, I'm not transcendental meditation, I'm not, kinesiology. I am, and you have a similar journey to me. It's quite interesting, obviously why we connected vibrationally, but, we're not that, but that has awakened within us so that we can bring ourselves to, consciousness to the table, right?
Absolutely.
So tell people what you do. Just tell people how you help people.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So now I think because, along this journey, I was exploring the various different aspects of healing modalities, the spiritual community, different spiritual teachings, all sorts of different stuff. And none of it was really giving me the answer, which was really obviously, but directing me way back into myself every single time. Yeah. And I really, really did a great job of getting in my own way.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize all the ways that I was inadvertently, unconsciously disempowering myself, that I was holding myself back by buying into the thinking that, maybe the answers were in someone else's modality or outside of me, and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so now I have brought through, well, first of all, I'm an author, so I wrote this book about my personal story.
The Inside Hustle, guys. So if you're listening to this on audio, it's the Inside Hustle. Let's read it. A mystical misfits travel adventure into the unknown, but un is crossed out and known is clearly to see. So talk to us about that journey.
Yeah, so I wrote this book because I had felt like I'd gone down some rabbit holes and things that weren't really in alignment. It kept me further away from where I was wanting to head, and I just wanted to take people on that journey for themselves, and also take people into all of these quite wild experiences that they may never want to go on themselves, but at least give a bit of an insight. And so,
and laughter, I'm sure, because you're a very, charismatic person. So I'm sure that there's humor weaved throughout that book as well to help people feel lighthearted about it.
Yeah, I describe it as Bridget Jones meets Eat, Pray, Love on steroids, because it's the comedy of errors of my personal journey of evolution, and it's a bit naughty, and it's a bit fun, and it's funny, and it's it's really, it takes people on a journey themselves.
It sounds amazing.
And anyway, there's sort of channeled writing that's in between the chapters that helps recalibrate people back to their divine essence, their true divine nature. And it's just, when I do that work, I'm connecting into the most light-filled aspect of someone or myself, and bringing that energy through, which is really just beautiful, loving, light-filled, expansive energy that is in line with the divine intelligence that runs in through all things and through me and all of us. And so the starting point was this book. And while I was working on this book, I was wanting to find a different way of working people. And funnily enough, as you were saying before, about everything going into our sort of kit to become what for us to remember who we are, I was inspired by my old advertising career and the strategic tools that we used in advertising and on brands. And I thought, wow, it'd be great to use that on someone's energy signature, so that you could almost use it as tools to problem solve and help them unblock areas that they were feeling stuck and getting in their own way. And so it began from there, where I sort of used all of the things that had worked for me and, tweaked other things that may not have worked so well, and brought new things through to create my own personal sort of a way of working with people, which is a little bit quantum, a little bit channeled, a little bit, light coaching.
And what do you call yourself? So people, labels are helpful sometimes. So what do you call yourself?
Well, I call myself a transformation coach. But
transformation coach. And so your website? Tell us your website so people can look up your website. Yeah,
sure. It's JoannaWalden.com.
Brilliant. So Joanna owns her name, as I do, susankennard.co.uk. We really need to own our energy of our name. And this is one of the things that I really think is important, and especially now, don't you, Joanna?
Absolutely.
Owning your energy of your name, because you've brought in and you're owning it and you're in your authentic self. And so if you're listening to this, and, it's great to have different titles, but to own your name is really important. Yeah,
I agree. And it's funny because, when I was living in America and growing up, I was always Jo, not Joanna. And Joanna actually was more not a great memory, because my parents, if they were telling me off, it would be like, Joanna, and so I never used Joanna. But when I moved to America, they seemed to have a little bit of a struggle understanding that a woman could be called Jo. They only thought men could be called Jo, and it caused all manner of confusion with my accent as well. They were like, Joan? And I was like, no. So I finally diverted to Joanna, just through ease of, use, and got a bit more used to it. But I really truly agree with you there, because the power of our name actually carries such energetics. And
so mine was the opposite. I was always called Sue. So the people that have known me the longest will know me as Sue, right? So if a friend calls me Sue, my other friends know that they've known me a long time, right? And my family all call me Sue. And so it was important for me to own Susan, right? And when people introduce me as Sue now, I'm like, I never told you my name was Sue, right? My name is Susan. So it's kind of really interesting how people quite often will revert to a shortened version of your name, but owning your name is really important.
No, I agree. But so I call myself a transformation coach. I take people from one state of being to another. And I work with energy in a very expanded way, and I just use that in an intuitive way with clients. Different energies come in, I channel, use sound, all sorts of different things to take people on a bit of a journey, which really is bringing them back to remember their true divine nature. And I simply work as a guide. It's about me facilitating that practice for someone who maybe doesn't know how they want to change.
give
don't
us an
know.
example. So someone comes to you, so it's really helpful to give examples. So if someone comes to you, what kind of things do people come to you for?
Sometimes people come with addictions. Sometimes people come with just feeling quite stuck in life and not feeling like they can move forward, and they just have the energy to them. Other people come for trauma healing. Other people come for wanting to find their purpose. Other people might come with sort of intimacy issues. It really is a very, very broad range of people I work with. And I think people who are attracted to this work and to my book really wanting to, expand into a new version of themselves, really, in some way, shape, or form. And it may be presenting as a roadblock in a certain kind of way, but really they're wanting to connect with themselves on the deepest level and have a soul connection, reignite that remembrance of their true self, ultimately, is what really is behind it.
Do you feel like it's the same for me when people come to me? So they come with one specific thing, but that one specific thing is actually just a guise, really, for their soul to get them to the right space to heal.
It's so much bigger than that. And they sort of, all of the different aspects of, I don't just work on one aspect of someone's life or the one problem that they came in, because everything is so interrelated and connected, as we know. And so, if someone's experiencing, an emotional issue or a blockage in their back or something, it's never, we used to say in kinesiology, where it is, it isn't. It's never the answer in what you see in front of you or what you're looking at.
Or it goes deeper, it goes like, so if you're listening to this and you have a pain somewhere, and that's not to say, neither, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical doctor. And so it's really important if if you're listening to this and you feel, oh my goodness, well, I've got this pain, in my back, or I've got this pain somewhere, then obviously it's really important that you make choices for your own highest and best good. And that, I just say that as a disclaimer for both of us, Joanna. But essentially, that message that your body is showing you is literally a message. And that's the key, isn't it? Is to say, look, this is showing up, or this relationship is showing up, or this emotion, like Joanna's story of partying and trying to find herself, right? That was a message for her. It was a message for her, and it was just part of the journey. And so whatever you're experiencing in your life, it's part of your journey of exploration, isn't it? And we were talking before we went live about what's going on in astrology at the moment, Joanna. It's like we're right now sitting in the sign of Cancer, Cancerian sign. So this is very much, I feel, about coming home. And, this is about coming home to ourselves. So wherever that is, in your astrological chart, it really doesn't matter. This is the energetic of now. And so if you're listening to this and you feel, oh my goodness, I really need to listen to coming home, I need to listen to what my soul is trying to tell me, then I'm really glad you found this podcast with Joanna and myself, because this could be the seed for you to say, actually, you know what, I'm done with this. I need to work on myself, and I need to explore and expand my consciousness. Go ahead, Joanna.
And I think, in all of this, we've sort of been told and conditioned by the world around us, in whatever situation we may have found ourselves growing up in, that what we should be, when really most of the time that can be quite irrelevant from really what our soul is calling for, and that deepest inner wisdom of, our heart. And I think, it's just important. We do get to a point where we sort of realize that, well, this isn't, whatever I'm doing out here is not enough. And, when you have that discomfort within you, and that sort of like feeling a need of a nervous energy, and if you've moved jobs a ton of times and it's still not going away, or you've moved countries and it's still not solving it, or you've got a new
relationships,
all of that, because it's not really answering what's really going on in there. And when we start to actually have the courage to look at that, it doesn't mean throwing everything else out the window at all. It just means starting to go on that journey of discovery into the self, and really getting in touch, because the thing is, that key relationship with ourself, that governs all other relationships, and it really, our inner world governs our outer world. And there's just that understanding that is really, really valuable when we are starting to open up.
And transformative. It really is
yeah,
transformative, isn't it? Because
it really
finding, and like the book inside you, for you, that book inside you is on the table now. So you were able to get that, and mine's just almost on the table, like by winning, the Hay House Writers thing.
Totally amazing.
I know. So the book inside you is also your story, isn't it?
Yes.
And that, I feel drawn to say that because everyone has a story. They might not decide to write a book, but everyone has a story, and that story that you've come to actually is part of your experience being human, and really accessing that soul part of you. So, really listen to this and really feel, where is it in my life that I'm feeling, oh my goodness, I haven't listened to my soul, or I did hear it, but I just didn't action it.
Yeah. I mean, we do go through a lot of our life ignoring those little nudges and subtle messages of our heart and our soul. And, we can keep doing that, but it's still going to come knocking, and the knocking's going to get louder. And
it
then
does get louder.
If we're not in alignment with who we really are, you're going to see that playing out in your reality and your relationships and your career and your finances, all of that stuff. And so
everything, and especially the bank balance. Like I think that's a really good indication. Like if you it's not all about money, but it's about energy, isn't it? And if that bank balance goes down to a point where you feel unsafe, then and I've definitely been there. I don't know if you have, Joanna, but I've definitely been there. And it feels unsafe, then, okay, so what is the universe trying to tell you about how safe do you feel in the world, right? How do you feel the universe has your back? Do you feel like you are being supported by the universe? And what you were saying, Joanna, was a really good point, was actually we look outside of ourselves for the answer, but actually it's within that is always the answer. But the journey to find that within, sometimes we need people like Joanna and myself as a guidance tool, not a fixer. No, important to hear, but a guidance tool, and and a channel obviously for source, but a guidance tool of stuff you already know. It's kind of because we know everything, we just don't remember it. And that I think is the key. Do you think that we just come in, we come in, we choose our parents, we come in and we go, oh, I've forgotten everything. And then we spend the whole of our life trying to remember it, right?
I know.
That's just my theory, but.
I know, but it's funny because sometimes I feel like we don't remember something at the time because we don't need it. And so when people are like constantly like really kind of crack open their third eye and their intuition and whatever, well, I'd sort of feel like, forcing Kundalini awakening or all that kind of stuff is actually kind of a bit counterintuitive and counterinducive to what, because if you could actually just be with yourself in the presence of the power of that present moment, you would be able to tap into other layers of your being in whatever way is perfect for you in that moment. And it's not necessarily about having the Kundalini rising or the seeing a bunch of beings or whatever it is. Everyone is having the exact perfect experience for them in any given moment. And that present moment, that's an access point to many things. But as you say, we don't listen, we get distracted, everything else takes over, and we're conditioned out of that way of living and being. And I think that's what we're really stepping into as we move forward, and especially during this time of huge transition and change on the planet, we're being asked to re-adopt the way that we are actually
recalibrate
technology and spirit technology, and recalibrate back to that.
Totally. And I think it's recalibrating everything that you perhaps thought you knew to something that is more of the truth, more of the true truth of who you are.
Absolutely.
So Joanna, if people are listening to this, obviously we'll just say your website again, which is joannawalden.com. So it's WALDEN.com. just for those that are listening rather than seeing you, because on the screen, obviously your name's there. What else is happening with you? What else can they get? They go to your website. What else can they find? Obviously, you can buy your book.
Yes.
Is it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. It's on all, global booksellers. So you can find it out there. The audiobook is about to go live shortly.
Oh, fantastic.
So that's great.
Is it your voice?
Yes.
Oh, good. That's important too. I've been told that because I'm going to audio my book as well. And I've been told that my voice needs to be the energy of it. Yeah.
I felt pretty strongly, but it took me 38 hours to record it, so I hope yours isn't a long book.
It's probably quite long. Oh, bless you. Well, thank you for all of that energy putting into it, because I think sometimes when people are so busy, it's nice to hear something, and listen to it in the car, or listen to it whilst doing housework with some people, and anything at all. And I think just listening and planting those seeds. Okay, so basically that's coming out soon, which is amazing.
That's going to launch soon. And then on my website, I've also got some courses. So all my work is based in heart technology. In 2017, I had a visit from some light beings in a dream, and they told me it was all about heart technology, and it basically set me on this beautiful vision quest to work out what that was and what it means. So it's about this multidimensional technology that we all have within us. So I've got some work on heart technology. I've got some work on a recent course I channeled through called the New Abundance Codes, which was really fun and amazing. Beautiful. It's a 6-day energy experience that you can tap into. And I offer you... Go
ahead over to the website after this podcast and check that out, guys.
And I also have my one-to-one coaching, obviously my signature coaching program is a 12-week program. And there's one-off sessions as well. And there's also a free 20-minute consult just to
fantastic.
And get a feel for each other and see what's going on. And if we discuss working and hearing more about how I work with people. So that's available too as an option.
So they can definitely do that. So if you feel really drawn to Joanna's energy, because it's always about energy, right? So if you feel drawn to Joanna's energy, then you can pop over to our website and book in your kind of consultation just to say hi. And if you feel you want to work with her and she wants to work with you and it's a match, then that's perfect. Brilliant. And me, you're not doing any physical work. Like I'm not doing any speaking at the moment that is physical in the sense of going anywhere to speak. And I'm sure you're not either, right? So you do everything on Zoom like this?
Yes, I do everything on Zoom. Although in New Zealand, we've got a bit of a different situation. So I have clients who come in as well. So I work with people.
Oh, lucky you.
So that's we're very, very... it's very fortunate here that we're able to do that. And I just came back from a solstice retreat. So people in New Zealand can get to tap into me that way. I've got another one coming up on Great Barrier for the equinox in September. And working and activating at sacred sites and having energy experiences to expand and connect us to our true divine self. So
if you're in New Zealand, you're lucky. If you're in the UK, well, you're still lucky, but you're just not able to do that at the moment. We've definitely got the restrictions here. I think maybe because we're on an island, I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. But I'm supposed to be in Hawaii in November teaching the Divine Feminine Retreat, but supposed to be there. Who knows whether I'll get there or not?
Who knows?
We just don't know. The universe lines up, and if you can't get anywhere, if you're listening to this and you can't get anywhere, don't see it as a restriction, even though we use that word. See it as, I wonder what other opportunities I need to do where I'm not actually stuck on a plane or, traveling somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joanna, I'm bringing this to a close now. The time has gone really, really quickly. I just want to say thank you so much for being here and sharing your beautiful energy with my audience. Definitely check Joanna out. She is a beautiful light in the world, as you can hear and feel and see, obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to this on podcast, please rate and review this podcast so that we can reach more people, so that just like you, they can realize that they are amazing. So go on to Apple Podcasts and just rate and review. Okay. What else do I want to say to you? Joanna is in New Zealand, however, and so you can visit her. Oh my God, she's so lucky she can see you physically. But if not, she can work with you on Zoom, as I work with people on Zoom all over the world. And so we're really lucky we have that technology, not only heart technology, but also physical technology, which is really helpful. If you would like to find my free video course, which is called Awaken the Light, then just go to my website, susankennard.co.uk, join my newsletter, and you get an email which comes through, which has the link to my free video course, where I get to help you to talk to your guide, to talk to your body, and to really remember who you are. So thank you so much for listening to the Spiritual Awakener podcast today. And thank Joanna for being here. Joanna, thank you so much for sharing your energy.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much, Susan. I loved chatting with you. It was wonderful.
It was great fun. And until the next episode, keep well, keep light, and remember that you are this divine soul having a human experience. Much love.